All right, guys. So we're back from the Avengers: Age of Ultron movie. We're using a different camera, which I actually like the quality on, which is neither here nor there. And the common consensus for the movie is people are saying it's good, but not as good as the first movie. So first of all, guys, just sporadically, is this better than the first movie? If not, why? Or tell me what you guys think of that comparison.
Okay, so I don't think it's as straightforward as that. I don't think you can compare them because they're two completely different films. So
Okay.
I'm not saying yes or no.
All right.
I actually enjoyed it more than the first one.
Okay.
Speaking about it.
And you?
I think in terms of comic book movie, it doesn't really get any more comic book than this, so it is better in that sense. But the first one was a crowd pleasing movie. So if you're just a casual fan who doesn't really give up too much about the backstory or like the actual comics that it's based on, then you like the first one better because it's a comedy and it's full of action. But this has all the far-fetched storylines, all the sci-fi, all the nonsense. This is a 5-year-old kid's dream come true. So yeah, this is the better Marvel movie because it has actually everything that Marvel was about in it. It has a scene where an android talks to a robot about the meaning of life. So there you go.
I actually, well, you guys are going to hear me say it, but I actually agree with you, Simon. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is building a story that has built upon Captain America 2 and Avengers 1. And when this movie starts out, I think it starts from that pace. And I do feel like, maybe not a hindrance against the movie, that if you've watched those movies, it feels like it's carrying on from them. If you come in cold into this one, I don't know if you might feel a bit lost or you just won't feel the connection. I don't think this works as well as a standalone movie as it does if you've watched the first one. And in that sense, I agree with Ori, where I don't think you should really compare them because I do feel like this is a stepping stone as a story-driven narrative, which I have to give credit to Joss Whedon for. So, saying that, guys, I should have said this in the beginning, we are going to get into a bit of spoilers, which I might edit out depending on how we do this, because this video turned out a bit different than I expected, blah, blah, blah. So, tell me what you liked about the movie, guys.
Okay, well, I personally liked the intimate relationship that is significantly hinted at between Natasha Romanoff, right?
Black Widow, yeah.
Black Widow.
Played by Scarlett
yeah.
Johansson, and Hulk Banner character played by Mark Ruffalo. I thought it provided a really cool, sweet contrast to, the relationship they certainly had in the first one, which is more than her running away from the Hulk and him getting really fucked off at her. Oh, excuse my language.
Oh,
No, that's fine.
Sounds like a first date with Chris Brown. Yeah.
So I really like that. I mean, obviously there is still that kind of tension there. You'll see it when you see the film in terms of her trying to basically calm him down so that he'd return back to the Banner form from being Hulk. But I really liked that. I thought that was really sweet, and it did make you think where it was going to go. And I think it was right that it ended up, at least for the sake of this film, going where it did. So with their relationship.
Yeah, well, I like spectacle. I like big action and all that. If I'm gonna go,
Scale, motherfucker!
if I'm going to cinema, big screen to watch something, I want to see some shit. And we saw some shit. So action, and following on from like what Ori said, like there's more combination, more teamwork going on.
Yeah.
Now the Avengers are established, and there's more of that, like combination with like Captain America and Thor, and then Hulk and Black Widow, and there's more characters and put in extra new characters, and I felt the balance was better. Because in the first one, like Hawkeye got the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
But and everyone else kind of had their moment. I feel like here, everyone did have their moment and had their parts with. And then it also made up for Hawkeye from last time as well.
He's like almost like takes over the movie for a
Yeah,
while. And becomes like the main character who has like a proper like backstory and all that stuff.
You can say spoilers, I can't wait because you might like it.
Yeah, I'm going to chop out. Go on, Simon. We'll go.
Yeah,
you had your
I was
piece.
gonna say they give him a family and they give him context, and he's kind of like they justify him being on the team by being also the most rational person. He's like, they stole that from the Justice League cartoon, by the way, where Justice League Unlimited episode 1, where they recruit Green Arrow. Batman says you need to be here because you're the down to earth guy.
Yeah.
Keeps us in check. So basically, they stole that idea, but whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna pick up from where you left off and say what I liked about it is that ever since Christopher Nolan kind of left the Dark Knight movies, we needed like a new standard, and all the standalone Marvel movies don't do it, and the DC movies are just like awful. So what I like about them, when it comes to the highest end filmmaking, this is it. Like the budget in this was incredible. Every action scene was CGI is amazing. They don't hold back any punches. Like, what was the last action sequence in the previous movie, the first Avengers?
The alien invasion, I guess.
Yeah, basically the New York invasion. That's every action scene in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not. We are talking spoilers, but I'm just not gonna just mention them because there's no need. Every single action scene involves all the Avengers working together, working separately. You have the Hulk tearing the place apart every single way. The villain is much bigger. Yeah. The stakes are even higher. So in terms of just that high-end filmmaking where every single aspect of the production is raised to another level and it kind of sets a new standard, this is it. And even though the story, it's very nerdy, and I'm a casual fan, so I enjoyed the first one.
I think, let me cut in and say, I think the reason why I would agree with some it's nerdy is that I think they go into more detail than the casual would know. Like, another complaint on the movie was like, who's Vision? And when you see this character in the movie, if you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to get into it, but if you've read the comics, again, the fans will love that. The comic book fans will love that. The newcomers won't be as invested, but I like the fact Joss Whedon isn't catering to like just casuals.
The thing is, like, which Marvel movies is it? Like the 8th, 9th or something? I mean,
too many.
If you're counting all of them,
I mean, like, you can't be expected to be catering to like the public. I mean, if you look at the 9th in a universe, I mean, you're gonna put in like people like.
But at the end of the day, if we're talking about comic book movies, this is the first time this is being done on this scale. So the easy way out is to reset everything and redo the previous formula, which this does a little bit. But again, building relationships has always stepped on, building ideas, and I actually think this had a shit ton of character development, which is what I love for every single character.
That's what I really like about, like, I'm a huge Joss Whedon follower. That's what I like about Joss Whedon. Like, he's not just one of these people that does like introduces characters and then redoes everything else. He introduces characters, you see their development, you see their arcs, then he introduces new characters and sees how they interact with the already established characters. And then, like, if he were to go on again, then he would establish the newer characters that he brought in from the previous one again, and then introduce. So he knows how to introduce, develop, maintain, manage, and then introduce new characters again, while still including a hint or a section towards the original formula, but still developing it so you don't feel like you're just rehashing the same old stuff over and over again.
So being critical, guys, and we need to be critical because we can't be dick riding everything out on the cinema because everybody always does that. If anything, what didn't you like or what didn't you think doesn't work? And I'll just go back and say the only thing that isn't a criticism for me particularly is that I don't think this movie works specifically as a standalone. I think it doesn't work that well on its own. If you have not seen this movie before, you will be somewhat not as invested. That's my only criticism. Other than that, I think this is a very well
standalone. This is like, as I said, like, what, the 8th, 9th part of this series.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't jump into Fast and Furious 7 without like having no idea what the rest of it.
Some do.
Unless
let's be honest.
And it's called Sky Mission, and you're like, whatever.
Why is it called Sky Mission?
Yeah, it's called Sky Mission in Japan. Yeah, it's just like no 7th. It's just like this is where it all begins.
Wow.
All right, so no, that was me. Did you guys got anything negative or anything you think that
worked?
worked?
What I would say is, again, just to back up what you just said, in all honesty, I'm not anywhere near as familiar with the comics. Like, ask me about X-Men, I've got a bit more of a clue. And I haven't actually seen, like, the first Captain America. The first Captain America I haven't actually seen. I've seen all the Hulk movies. So I do think it's worth me maybe going back and watching the first Captain America, or trying to. I found it quite hard to watch, actually, just because I wasn't as invested in it. But yeah, I do think standalone movie wise, it's definitely one for the fans, like the comic book fans. It's not,
Yeah, and outside of the Avengers, they kind of throw in a few cameos from other people from the other movies, and I thought that was a nice touch. But at some point it just becomes a little awkward, kind of shoehorned in towards the end.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you want to give any specific example? Because well, we're giving spoilers. I will say I found Don Cheadle funny, but then he got a little bit like, okay, brother, come on
I
now.
don't mind them all in that party because it was a party. Right?
Yeah, that was yeah.
Showing up at the end was like as backup. You're not backup.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, if I can go on a mini rant, that War Machine character never made sense to me. Like, Rhodey Rhodes is a good character. Like, he's a good character to Tony Stark to have a friendship with, because he's always serious and a military guy, and Tony Stark never gives a crap and selfish and, kind of arrogant. But the War Machine is just like, so you made another armor that doesn't work for you, but only works for this other guy who just shoots stuff, and he's like, I'm like, give him a good, proper alter ego, not like an Iron Man light, they're not like Batman and Robin, it just doesn't really work, and even here, they just give him stuff to do in the background, where I'd much rather see that Falcon guy from Captain America.
Well, he did make a good appearance, a few appearances, which is cool.
But he doesn't really get in on the action.
Yeah, that's true.
He's off doing some other shit.
He's
finding some
finding some followers on MySpace.
Honestly, I would have liked to have seen just a bit more from the Quicksilver character and Scarlet Witch, actually.
Okay.
Just a bit more.
Okay.
Like, I understood and actually believed their passion in what they were doing.
True, yeah, so do I.
How they started off and where they ended up. I got it. But just maybe a bit more of their backstory or something. Just something a little bit more. Because obviously, Scarlet Witch wasn't she shown at the end of the Avengers, like after the credits, if I'm not mistaken.
They were both shown off.
After
Captain America 2.
In prison.
So it would have been nice to just see a little bit, but for me it was more. I need to go back and watch some of the other movies again.
All right, well, we will wrap this up a bit quicker than expected, but I will say we have to give our last impressions to wrap this up on Ultron. What do you guys think of Ultron, the whole concept of him? Because nerdy-ish again, but it is a different inception from the comics. But I will say, I think it was very well done. I actually like how he came about. It was a lot more quicker than I thought it would be, but it made sense, and I actually like the way they handled Ultron. And some people have complained that Ultron, from reviews I've read already, they didn't think he was the best villain in this movie, and he was a bit underwhelming. I agree in a sense of maybe in an intimidation sense, as people expect him to be more threatening. But I actually thought, on a grander scheme and a more intelligent way, they used him, I don't want to say as a... Well, let's just say I thought he had a lot more analogies to his philosophy on life and stuff. I'm making him sound more philosophical than he is. He has a very simple philosophy. I thought he was threatening, and that's my impression. I thought he was decent, but some people, I think their expectations were a little bit more higher on. What do you guys think on that for Ultron?
Well, I'm kind of from the comics and stuff. I'm used to him being a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, exactly what people say.
He kind of really didn't do much. He could have done a lot more considering what he's capable of. And it kind of takes a step back, back seat for some of the movie, and kind of forget about him at some point.
That's what people said. I kind of disagree, but that's what a lot of people are saying. What do you, in Simon think?
Well, because I haven't read the comic books in that depth, so I'm coming at it cold, so to speak. And from what I know of Thanos, which is obviously shown at the end.
Yeah, the main villain.
The
big boss.
I actually think Ultron was kind of enough. Because the thing is, for me, I feel like it's a whole relationship, for example, with Batman and Joker. You have all these other villains, and they're all intimidating in their own right. But ultimately, it will always be, for me, Batman versus Joker, Joker versus Batman kind of thing. And so I feel like the way that the Avengers, with it running off, is it the Ultimates? The way that it's been presented, sort of the foundation of it was effectively from the word go that Thanos was going to be the ultimate, the ultimate bad guy. So all these other people or characters in between, so to speak.
So you're saying that he made a good placeholder then? Is that what you're saying? You didn't mind Ultron being a placeholder for...
Yeah,
in that
just
sense.
kind of he's a bad guy, but obviously he won't be the ultimate, will he? Because the ultimate is still yet to come. That's my understanding. I could have that completely wrong.
No, you're right. They have...
He was,
yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I actually agree. Thanos has always been alluding in the background as a puppeteer that this is, and at the end of this movie, they are sure he's a big bad. But Simon, let's finish on you as usual.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, actually, this ties into my only big criticism of the movie that I heard somewhere online that the original cut was over 3 hours.
Oh, okay, I never heard that.
This is just a 2 hour, 20-minute movie. And you can tell that the editing increases in speed at the second half. Like, it gets a little bit more choppy. And there are plot lines like Thor goes on this personal quest and then...
That is true, actually. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It turns into a quick spa treatment, basically. And I think a lot of the Ultron stuff as well just got cut out just to make room for a faster pace. So that would be my criticism, that he raised the bar on what can you do with a comic book movie, and the Dark Knight was like, what can you do to make it serious? This was, what can you do to make it as fantastic as a comic? Have all these far-fetched storylines, transcending space, robots, aliens, all this stuff in one movie with several characters instead of just one character facing it. Everybody coming from their own established universes and established film series. But at the end, because it's so much, there's not a strong core story. Like, the story of Ultron is not a strong one. It's something you've seen before a lot. Even Joss Whedon's writing, if I can, after criticizing geeks for this is their movie, I'm going to geek out and say, and his run on Astonishing X-Men, the second one, Dangerous, the Danger Room comes to life and becomes a robot, builds himself a body. That's what happens in this movie. So even he already told the story several times before and told it better because it was on a smaller scale. Here, we went from having a handful of Avengers to introducing new Avengers up until the last act of the movie. Vision was the direct result of the whole plot, and it's just another Avenger joining the team. So because it's so big, it is like a comic where the core story is not that strong, but if you're into the mythology, then eventually it's going to lead to something bigger. So it really is about how much you're invested in. But in terms of a movie on a grand scale, right now there's nothing that gets close to it. There are several, just as a side note, there are several scenes that directly tackle what DC's doing in terms of movies like Man of Steel. Yeah. And they just... It's more or less Joss Whedon looking like, okay, motherfucker, this is how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Just to cap on Simon said, we're going to leave it. They did actually make a point to show you this is how you deal with the bad guy and deal with an evacuation or care for the people. But I felt like Joss Whedon did make a point to do that, where in the first Avengers movie, even he didn't. Yeah. So I won't even say he always did that. No, I felt like in this movie, they made a serious point to show you this is how we save the people, which is a big deal, and this is how we beat Ultron at the same time. But then again, in the defense of Man of Steel, there was only one Superman, and there was like 8 Avengers, so.
But he's Superman. He can do anything.
All right, guys, let's stop there.